Well, hey Mike, what's going on?
Hey Jarvis, how's it going?
Good. Talk about the new Eternals trailer that popped out.
Yeah, you told me
Um,
about that. I didn't even know it was out.
so let's just do a quick rundown of what the trailer is. I kind of sometimes I wish this was a YouTube video so you can actually show the trailer, but that's not really needed. But basically, if you watch the trailer, you see this weird spaceship. It's like a real big spaceship, and you see a lot of attractive people looking at primate people. And then it kind of explains how like they're immortals and they've guided people in our civilization, but they've never completely interacted or interfered with what we did until something happens now.
Yeah, Angelina Jolie is one of them, I think.
Yeah, we got Angelina Jolie, we got Selma Hayek, we've got Richard Madden, we've got Kit Harington, which everybody loved from Game of Thrones.
Oh, I didn't recognize him. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, we've got Kamal Najani. It's a pretty big, pretty impressive cast. The biggest deal about this is the director. She won Best Director last for the Academy Awards. Chloe Zhao. She directed that weird movie that just came out, Nowhere Land, something like that. No Man Land.
Oh, okay.
Anyway,
right.
Yeah, so that's the big deal. So she's like, that's why everybody's kind of flipping out because it's going to look and be really pretty.
Yeah.
However, let's run down real quick who these people are as far as comic book lore. Now, I've talked to you about this a little bit, how Marvel's going to start digging into the real obscure stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Eternal, I can't think of a more obscure comic reference than the Eternals. So when I was reading comics back in the late 80s, early 90s, and throughout the 90s, I pretty much read comics for like that 10-year span. The Eternals weren't a big deal. No one was writing comics about them, not really. But they were.
I've never even heard of the Eternals until the movie was announced.
Yeah, so they came around, if I'm not mistaken, in the 1960s, in that era. And I mean, the art's beautiful. Jack Kirby did a lot of the cool art, so it looks kind of cool. And it's kind of hard to explain. The idea behind the Eternals is kind of the same idea behind DC's sort of New Gods kind of deal. Like both comic companies were trying to create like space opera stuff. And so you've got the New Gods on DC with Darkseid and all this other stuff. And then you have Marvel doing several different kinds of space operas. And the Eternals was one of them. Do you remember Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yeah, I was just about to ask if you would consider that one of the space operas.
Yeah, kind of. But do you remember in the Guardians of the Galaxy where they went to a place called Nowhere?
Right. Nowhere, Know. Where?
Yeah. Do you remember what they said it was?
No.
Huh? They said it was a Celestial's head. So the Celestials are a race of beings, like super godlike creatures, like super powerful, super big. And Guardians of the Galaxy, we actually see the head of a Celestial, and we see the Guardians of the Galaxy kind of fly in there, and there's a whole civilization kind of mining it and digging out the resources of this dead Celestial.
Oh, so that was literally the head of some creature.
It was a head. Yes, right. Exactly.
I knew it was shaped like one. Okay.
Yeah, so you get the scale of the Celestials.
Right, yeah.
At some point, the Celestials came to Earth and created the Eternals. And as far from my research, the Celestials spent several million years creating experiments on different planets. So they created the Eternals, and then they left. And then they came back to see what happened, and they left. So the Celestials come back and forth every so often to see how the experiments are doing. And no one really knows why, which is real lazy from a comic book writing kind of standpoint. You don't have to explain what these guys are doing if you don't explain them, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, the Eternals are superpowered beings that have been around forever, like millions of years.
Does this fit in with Star-Lord's father at all?
I think he might have been an Eternal. I have to check on that. But so the Eternal, you have to think about it this way, okay? The Eternals are the first superpowered beings on Earth. And them being here allows for some explanations about mutants, inhumans, stuff like that. This could be a gateway movie for X-Men, because the Eternals sort of are kind of like a connection to the X-Men in a weird way.
Oh, to like the mutations where they talk about in one of the X-Men films where the mutations are like leaps forward in humanity very quickly.
Yeah. And so the thing is, it's like it's a whole bunch of stuff behind the comics about where the X-Men came from. But the idea that these Celestials have been manipulating mankind and the Eternals are just an experiment is a pretty popular thing in comic book lore. But there's a couple of things we have to remember. One, no one knows who these people are, and so whenever you see the Eternals trailer, there are some comic book people who are pretty excited, but there's a lot more who don't know who these people are. And like very few, you're not going to go to a comic shop and have a long conversation with people about the Eternals because they just weren't that popular. I think Marvel has made some comics in the last 10 years to kind of get them ready for the movies and stuff like that, and you're going to see that happening. But
I'm sure they'll be making them in the next 10 years.
Yeah, so I'm really interested to see what happens with this, because this is a test for Marvel. Like, can they make anything they want, right? And people will go see it. That's the test. Director's a big name.
I think I've heard people say similar things about Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Was that a popular comic book for people to read, or was it also one of these kind of nuggets that's off in the corner and a lot of people don't really know about?
No, you're absolutely right, Mike. This was like the Guardians of the Galaxy were the same thing. Like when it came out, I was like, nobody knows who these people are, and nobody's going to care. And they ended up becoming a huge hit. And I was like, well, I'm surprised. Like the fact that Guardians of the Galaxy did that well is massive. But I think that when you look at the directors and the actors, that's kind of why, right? It was. But the Eternals are on that same vein.
Just the entire aesthetic of that, the first movie in particular is just all around awesome, basically.
Yeah, but there's one thing that that Guardians of the Galaxy has that the Eternals might not have. Guardians of the Galaxy was legitimately funny. It was a funny movie, and I don't know if Eternals is going to be funny. It looks more serious. They made a joke at the end. It's like, who's going to lead the Avengers? And then one person says, I will. And they started laughing. That's not really funny. And they did that to kind of make sure that people knew that they were in the Marvel universe. But like Marvel, I don't know, man.
Do you think that's why Kumail Nanjiani is in the cast? I mean, his professional job is a comedic actor.
Maybe. Have you seen his body, by the way? He worked out really hard for this movie, and it shows. His body is amazing.
Yeah, there's some YouTube videos about crazy. His transformation. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the end point here is this. Am I excited about this movie? No. Will I watch it? Yes, of course. I'm looking at the IMDb, and I'm looking at all these characters' names. I only recognize one person. That's Sersi. She was an Avenger back in the 90s in the comics. And that's the only one I know. Everybody else, I don't know. I know that Kit Harington is probably going to be the Black Knight at some point, which is also an Avengers character. Kit Harington's character is not an Inhuman. I mean, not an Eternal. I'm sorry. So he's just a regular person. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm just kind of curious to see what happens here. I'm curious to see if this is popular. I'm curious to see how it goes. This either might be a really good movie or a absolute disaster for Marvel, and we just have to wait and see. But I mean, don't bet on Marvel; they always win. So again, who knows? But we'll have to see. I do think I hope that they go real deep into the comic nerd stuff, and if we don't see a Celestial in this movie, I'm going to be very disappointed, because without the Celestials, we don't know who these people really are. So hopefully we'll see them, and hopefully they'll kind of dig deep into some of the experiments that the Celestials were doing. I hope they don't scur away from that. I hope they don't make this just like some space aliens that came to Earth and been here for millions of years. I hope they don't do that, because that would be highly disappointing.
Right. I'll say, just for my take from somebody that doesn't read the comics at all, this first trailer, I mean, it looks like it'll be a good movie, but it doesn't have me excited the same way that the Guardians of the Galaxy trailers did.
Yeah, man, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. It's just kind of, it feels real serious. It feels real moody.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we're into that. I don't know if people are willing, like the Marvel movies have a certain kind of tone to them. And I don't know if they can repeat Guardians of the Galaxy with this. We'll just have to wait and see.
Right.
But it comes out when? This year?
I don't even know.
It comes out November 5th today. November 5th is supposed to come out. So
yeah, not that far away.
Yeah, we'll have to wait. Well, that's all I got for the Eternals.
Good. All right. Well, once again, let's ask everybody to follow us, subscribe, rate and review, tell your friends.
Yeah. And also, if you are a big Eternals fan, I would love for you to contact me. And let's have a conversation, because I've never been a big fan of these guys. So if you love the Eternals, if you're looking forward to this movie, please let us know. And also, if you have any questions about the Eternals, you want us to do some more research, please do. There's actually some pretty interesting stuff with them, but we'll just have to wait and see if it connects to viewers.
Right. Yeah, and we're planning to do some of these, more of these shorter podcasts like this one. Let us know if you like it. Let us know if you don't.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
All right. Good talking to you.